Hey, good afternoon once again. This is the 2016 Taking Back Your Life Google Hangout series. And for those of you who are new to the series, shame on you, first of all. We've had over 11 or 12 wonderful guests around the United States who've come on and talked about how to become a better you. But they've done it in a way that I like to say is out of the box ideologies, practices, and thoughts. Things that you don't hear on an everyday life that aren't necessarily traditional. And believe you me, our guest today is absolutely one of those people. Joining me today is the owner and operator of Pure Neuphoria Bed and Breakfast Wellness Center. She's a personal trainer and health and wellness expert. Please welcome the wellologist herself, Miss Candice Camille in the house. Hey, Candice.
Hey, Clark, how are you?
I'm better now that you've scolded me about my Coke.
that wasn't a scolding. That was a love tap. Let me tell you.
You did do it with kindness, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So let's jump right in because I know you and I are about to have some fun. Let's start at the beginning. When did you first bring health and wellness into your life on a consistent basis?
Probably about little over 2 decades ago, so a little over 20 years ago. I got sick. I was diagnosed with ACC, which is adenoid cystic carcinoma. So to just simplify it, tracheal cancer. So, at that point, when you hear the big C word, you automatically think death. Oh my God, I'm going to die. And you listen to your doctors, you do all the things that you tell them going to do, that they tell you to do. But in actuality, sometimes what I believe then, still now, that the cure that they have for us, Western medicine, is sometimes worse than the disease itself.
I couldn't have said it any better. And I'm curious, did you do a combination of Western Eastern practices or ideologies or to get well, or how did the process for you work?
Well, yes, you do, because at first you're scared. So you have all the trust in your doctor and they know what they're talking about. So you go the ranks of doing exactly what they say. So I went through the medication, the chemotherapy, the radiation, got really, really sick. Because I thought that, goodness was on the other end of that if you do everything you say, but that didn't quite work. So after going through rounds of chemotherapy and then radiation, the cancer was still there. So what was next for me? They told me that I would have to have surgery. So now you're talking about somebody who has a big mouth, love to talk, and they were going to cut my throat out. That's what I thought it to mean. But talking about taking the cancer that was in my throat out, that's close to my adenoids, that's close to, my voice box.
Right.
And they were going to take all that out and introduce a trach, so a tube that would be down my throat for me to breathe with. So just to give you a little backdrop, my background was in medicine because I was a respiratory therapist, a pulmonary function technologist. So I knew that life all too well. I mean, I taught patients and breathed for them and taught them how to breathe and introduced these same tubes they wanted to put into me. And I absolutely did not want it. I said no to the surgery. So they told me that, if you don't do this surgery, it's not too much more we can do. That's the next step. So you have these steps that you go through when you're dealing with these diseases. And that was the next step. And I said no. Of course, my husband thought I'd lost my mind. What do you mean no? So what does that mean, that you may die? And I said, I know. And at that moment, between my husband and my doctor, I made the decision to go home basically and die. That was I made that decision because I didn't want the life that I knew what was going to happen, because he wasn't giving me a 90% chance I was going to come back to my normal self. So with those eyes, I wasn't willing to take that risk and throw the light on my children and my husband at the time that I was already involved in and taking care of it, because I saw the decline in families everything that was going on just by virtue of I was working in it. And I didn't want that for my children. And at that moment, I'd rather be dead, so I thought anyway. We as women, we got this thing that we have the right to change our mind.
Right. Second by second.
Yes, I changed my mind. It takes what, 17 seconds to change your thought process? I changed my mind. But anyway, before I changed my mind, I did go home, and got really sick. It got bad, it got worse before it got good. But in the moment I changed my mind, I literally was ready to just die. I remember having a friend that says, you need to pray. You need to take this to God, because you may want to, get right with him, in these times of your life. Back then, I didn't believe in God. I just didn't, because, sometimes you live such a horrific life and you say, where was God? So I had gone through so much, at that point in my life that, from child abuse to domestic violence to being homeless. So all these things that happened to us. So I didn't think, God, what? All this crap is happening to me. He ain't thinking about me. So why should I think about him? So again, just being very close in what you believe. But on the night that I actually thought that I was going to die, she told me to pray, and I didn't know how to pray. And she says, just talk to him like you're talking to me. I'm a Jersey girl, so I decided to give it a shot. So I said to God, you know what, can you give me some bail? It's one or two things I want. I want to either die and go where you are, because I didn't want to go to hell, or either I wanted him to make me better so I can take care of my children and prepare for them to be okay. And I just said, amen. That was my prayer on that night. I probably woke up a few seconds later and said, oh, one more thing, one more thing, And because my girlfriend at the time told me to say, make sure I end each prayer in Jesus' name, amen. So I was like, one more thing in Jesus' name, amen. And I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning, and our elders used to say to us when we were little, sometimes you're just going to wake up dead. So I thought literally that's what happened. My grandmother would say, if you don't do the things you're supposed to do, you're going to wake up dead. So never understood what that meant, but I thought I did it in that moment because that's what was taught to me. And when I realized that, I was like, ooh, this guy must be some person, because my room is with him and all this stuff, just craziness. Right. But when I realized, I wasn't dead, here's the pivotal point that turned for me, that leads me to this, is that I went to go move and I fell on the floor. Now, prior to that, I'm in the bed, my husband was taking care of my every need. So I always needed help to move or do anything. And on that morning, Clark, I fell on the floor, and it hurt so good. It hurt like that, but the fact that I was on the floor was just a miracle in itself, as far as I was concerned. And because there was no movement by myself, I would have never made an attempt. I would always wait for somebody to do this. But anyway, I fell. My husband come running in the room, and he thought I'd done lost my mind. He was like, how did you? And I told him God threw me on the floor. So, but in that moment of being on the floor, trying to crawl to the bathroom, made a mess. But in that moment, what I realized about just the Spirit of God, for what I thought all these years, it wasn't an outside force. It was a spirit that you really had to release on the inside of you in terms of your faith and what you believe. So in that moment, it turned my whole belief system. And another thing my grandmother used to say to me, she was like, baby, chick, God helped those who help themselves. And that just keeps racing back to my head. I was annoyed that I couldn't find that scripture in the Bible, by the way. but there was a lot of supporting scriptures. I was like, I know my nana didn't lie to me. But but what I found was faith without works is dead. In
Right.
that moment, I knew that everything that I needed was on the inside of me,
Mm.
that it was there when I surrendered to ask for help to my higher power. So in that moment, Jesus Christ became my Lord and Savior. I call him Big Daddy. I'm his number one chick. That's what I think about it on this day. But it made me realize that I had to take control of my life. This was a decision that I made in terms of living or dying, and you really are in control of you. You get to decide which way your life is going to go. So even in that moment, those are decisions I made. I decided in that moment that I wanted to live, and I had to do something, and I could not do it in this bed. So I
Mm.
needed to get up. So I started reading. I started reading like crazy. 3 books I read: the Bible, Back to Eating, and Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Those were like my 3 Bibles at the time because number one, the Bible has everything you need in terms of what you understand it. So I had a few Bibles so I can understand what I was reading. Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, was talking about your mind. How do you get your mind in order to prepare yourself to get this? Because that's what I had to do, because I had to get into preparation for being well, or just
Right.
for living, not even being well. For me, then it was just living. So even when you're dealing with any type of disease, be it diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, cancer, all the cancers that we deal with today, you know, it's the things that's preventable by what you think, what you eat, how you move, what you're ingesting. So I had to learn to prepare for myself. So Back to Eating was a book that took me through the food process. Uh, could believe, because the medications that I was on, I started to study. Clark, I tell you, I probably read about 1.5 million books on
Mm.
how to get the body well, how the body function, how to work it at its optimum level, and what did you have to do. The common denominator was eating well and moving. That was the common denominator in all the books. So I took all my medication, did some research, and I was looking for the food derivative of everything that was in these medicines. And then I started to eat it. It didn't happen at first because
Wow.
going through the medication, the stomach was not ready. You can hardly hold anything on your stomach. So
Right.
again, you had to learn how to prepare yourself to get it. So I enlisted what my husband called my witch doctors. So I got a holistic doctor, a naturopath, acupuncturist, a massage therapist. I'm an herbalist, a personal trainer.
Mm.
I learned how to heal the body, and with their help. So as they helped me, still not a lot of movement. I wanted to get out of the bed every day. But for my husband, he hovered because he thought I was going to hurt myself.
Right.
So basically, when he would go away, I would call people to get me out the bed, and I would, and I would walk. But that's what it was. I changed the way I thought, because you have to change your thought process. Because I believe then and now, more so now than ever, that wellness is a state of mind. It's not something that you do, it's who you become. You
Mm.
can't do this thing. This thing has to become a part of you, no matter how you look at it. And it's not just the eating and the moving. I've learned that later on, but that was a place to start. Because even if you're eating right and moving right, there's still so many things in life that that you have to own a part of being well. That's just a piece. So but once you get those pieces down, the other thing has to will fall into place. Things like, you eat well, you move well, but then you
Mm.
have to sleep well, right? So, and then you have to breathe well. It all plays a big part in your whole well-being. Then you have to think well and wonder what you put in your mind. And that's when I went to work. But it was a 4-year journey.
Wow.
A 4-year journey, 18 months of total debilitation. But after that, the other 18 months, oh, it was on and popping. I was kicking butt and taking names. That's how I thought about, my wellness, because I wanted to live. I saw that was possible, because when I had the conversation with God, he said it was possible. All you have to do is believe it. You have to pray on it. You have to hope for it. And praying and hoping is more so expectations. What are you expecting? I
Right.
expected to be well. So before, right, I expected to die. So you have to shift your perception, and then I expected to live. So I really turned my pain into pleasure. So that's what I call the power of perception, that
Yeah.
you literally have to turn your thought process over to a pleasurable point in order for you to move. So that's what I did. So that's where my P power comes in, changing your perception of what you feel. And so if you think you're going to die, if that's what you think, it's the same thing. If you think you can, you can,
Right.
and that it boils down to all the metaphors and the things that we know. If you think you're going to live, you're going to live. But there's some work involved. So if
So
you
then
believe it.
before we tackle even further down that hole, I want to I gotta ask you, through that journey, at some point you decided to build and create and be the founder of your own B&B Wellness Center. How did that come to pass?
Well, I promised God that everything that and for him saving my life, I promised God that I would pay forward to what I know and teach others how to be well from a simplistic approach. That was it. That's how I decided to do this. I mean, my background medical, I'm a geek at heart, so to walk away from a 28-year career in respiratory therapy and pulmonary medicine, to do this, it was huge for me. It was something that just kept gnawing on me. And as in the hospital, I thought that we are prolonging death,
Right.
that we were not living. And I wanted to get on the side of preventive maintenance. And that's what I promised. So, because I did go back to work there, and I was like, what am I doing here?
Right.
And because I'm prolonging death, this is not life.
Mm.
I knew, so what I wanted to be on living, I wanted to be on thriving. I tell people now, I'm a cancer conqueror. I kick cancer's behind. And we have to fight like heck for our lives. And I was going to be part of the solution to teach you how. So I wanted to create a platform. So that's how Pure Euphoria came about. I wasn't getting on the stages I wanted. I thought I'm this powerful speaker, and I wasn't getting on these places I wanted to be. So you know what? God said, create your own platform.
There you go. So we were traveling down the journey, and you mentioned this right before I switched gears. But so there are many facets of wellness. With you, when you're working with clients, or whether it be corporates, corporations bringing you in to talk to a group or singular, where do you usually like to start that wellness journey with a typical client?
It's funny. I start with why. So you're talking about the book, why. So I would say to you, Clark, why are you here? I don't want to know about your weight. I don't want to know about anything. I want to know about why are you here? That's where I start. So, and
And
I would say to you, Clark, who are you? Without titles and without what you do.
now, how does that insight? Because this is probably when you started pulling out your shrink, as it was your psychology of it, right? Because
Yes.
like you said, it's all about the mindset. So how does getting that person to understand why they are who they are, why they're even here, why now, all of the whys, how does that then become a good foundation for what you're about to help them build upon?
See, because now I know your standard operating procedure. And we have to change. We have to change some of your beliefs from your standard operating procedure in order for you to move forward. Because if we don't change what you believe, you're just going to go to a goal and then you're going to fall back on what you know. So we have to work on your behavior. So it's almost like a unlearn process. So we got to unlearn some stuff and then we got to relearn some stuff. So I'm looking to change your belief system, help you change your belief system, especially as it relates to you. Because one of the things that me seeing my clients, especially one-on-one, which I love, because now we get to start to build your formula. Because my 1+1 don't equal your 2. That's why I don't like the cookie cutter approach to being healthy, because what works for me may not work for you. So when you look in society today and it tell you, no, in order to be healthy, you got to eat grass and all you got to drink is water. Not true. It's not true. I'm sorry. I eat. I don't know if you've seen some of my meals, but I eat. I love to eat. Food is one of the pleasures in life. You need to eat, and we can talk about what food really means to me later on, but it's one of those magnificent feelings that you got to get, probably that same feeling you're getting from that Coke you drinking,
See, and I thought we had put that down and we were past that.
Yeah, so it's changing your belief system, helping you change your belief system.
So off camera, you and I talked about the importance of, or not importance, but the fact that wellness is a system. It's wellness in itself is well-roundedness. It's not about just exercising. It's not about just, the only thing I do is eat, leaves. It's not about, I meditate 24 hours a day only. All of these things become parts and parcel. So talk about how important it is for it to all be well-rounded, that you do have to learn different parts of it. And I'm curious, which one do you find most people either omit or it's hard for them to work on?
Most of the physical part, the body, is probably the hardest. I'll work backwards with that because I believe I operate in 5. I think it's 5 things that you need to work on daily in order to be well-rounded, and then we can sub it down as to what you do in each of those 5. But there's your physical limb that you have to work on. There's your emotional, mental, and connective limb as it relates to connecting to people. There's your spiritual limb. There's your financial limb, and then it's your overall purpose. I think if you're able to work on these things simultaneously, you will start to change the trajectory of your wellness journey. So most of us either work on 1 or 2. Spirit is heavy and financial is heavy. It's like, I got to make money. I'm waiting on God. I tell my clients all the time, you better stop hiding behind Jesus. You got some work you got to do. So it's like, I got to go to work. I got to go to work. I hear a lot about the grinding. It's like we're working on our business equity and our bank equity, and we're not working on our body equity. But if you don't work on your body equity, and that's a lot of times why we're on this hamster wheel, because can't get it right, because you're not working on the place where you live at. Our bodies is the only place we have to live, and it starts and ends with you. We came in with breath, we're going to go out with breath. Everything in the middle really doesn't even matter unless you get this right. That's why a lot of us in business are grinding. I hate to hear the word, because I think of grinding as just hurt, painful.
Yeah.
So, and if you have to turn it around to what's important to you, because at the end of the day, I would say to you, even as we discuss your sodas, is it important to you to be well? Are you important to you? If you are, it's certain things that we wouldn't do. It's certain things that we would prioritize better. For instance, we probably put better gas in our car than we put food in our body. because what is important to you. So that's how I look at that. But if you work on all of those limbs, 9 times out of 10, you're well. Even when life comes, because life is daily, stuff happens. But if you start to build your physical limb, and I call that your body equity, um, when life happens, it will help you deal with life. So, and if
Wow.
you, yeah, so
Oh,
basically
go ahead,
you
finish.
do
I'll let you
that,
get.
huh?
No, I was gonna say, finish that thought. Absolutely.
Yeah, so basically that's where it is. So people will say where you start, like you start with your spirit, and you start with your mind, and you start with your emotions, and you start with your money, and you start with your purpose and passion. Again, it goes right back to your formula. My formula for me works on my physical, because I think when you're moving and you're eating right, and you've got the doing the things that you're supposed to do for your body, you get a little open and life becomes clearer. So the
Mhm.
spirit comes in, there's more money comes in, you develop your purpose, and your emotions is not all over the place. So you take a piece of that pie all the way around, and you start to work in it. Where for you it may be something different.
So I've heard you, being nosy. I've went on YouTube. I've looked at everything I could find about you. Um, and by the way, I'm in love. Everything you talk about, I just eat it up with a spoon. But one of the things that hit home that you mentioned was guilt. Um, and it's very rarely talked about, especially when we're talking about wellness. Psychology and psychiatrists do, but most people, when we're talking about health and wellness, they never talk about that guilt can blow all of that up. You can talk about working out is all you want, but if a person is still dealing with some inner guilt, man, it just throws everything awry. Can you talk about how you have to overcome it, and how do you overcome it?
Well, how you overcome it basically is making a decision. It sounds simplistic or easy as that is, but a lot of times it goes right back to your belief in what you've been taught a long time ago. We're guilty for so many things. If I did something for myself, I'm guilty. You know, Basically, if I don't do for you, because we're taught to do for others before we do for ourselves. And I don't believe that. I'm sorry. I just don't. I'm not even sorry about it. I'm unapologetic about it, because I think there's God, then there should be you. So whoever your power source is, and then there should be you. Because if you're not in order, no one's around you is going to be in order. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to break, especially as it relates to women. I don't know the guy smackdown, but the woman smackdown around 40 years old, we crazy. We're trying to
Wow.
think we're crazy. And I can stand here boldly as a woman say I was crazy, simply because was wondering why I exist, my purpose. I had given it all the way to my job, my kids, my husband. What was left for me? Because when you start to do for you, you start to feel guilty. If you're trying to change the way to get better and get well, and you haven't brought your family into it, you're guilty, because your husband want meat and you don't want to eat meat, or the kids want sugar and you don't want them to have sugar anymore. So it becomes that fight, and we don't want to fight. So we go back to standard operating procedure, because we won't own it enough to fight for it. So even as I change my life, oh no, my kids, I shop. We're head of household. We're doing this. And you have to own your decision, and then you have to work your decision. In order for you have to own it, like own your truth about it, and then you have to work it, and you have to keep working it and keep working it. But when we fall up against opposition, which is that guilt, when we start to feel guilty, we just fall back, because it's hard. I talk to my clients, and it's like, why everything got to be so hard? We want the microwave, we want to push a button, and we want it done now. But I had to work through this. I am still working through this. This is not over. I tell folks I'm living till I'm 150 years old, so I got work to do. You have work to do. So I think that the process of, I think we begrudge the process. You know, it's hard. We don't want to do it. But I think if you change your thought process of it, like I'm in love with me, number one. And number two, I absolutely love the process of being well. So you have to have fun with it because the way society has it now, it's hard to be well. You got to change everything. You got, you know, it's just stuffy. You feel like somebody's squeezing you with a jacket because you have to change. But you have to find your fun and happiness in it, and it'll take the guilt out of it.
It reminds me, what you said earlier reminds me of a speaker, Richard Flint, who said that the reason he'd been divorced, the reason he hadn't gotten married again after discovering what you just talked about is that he couldn't find a woman that was okay with being number three.
Bam.
You know, because he said, you know, just exactly what you said, you know, my God is first, I'm second, but you would be the best number three in the world. But,
wait a minute. What's his name? I need to know him.
He's a phenomenal speaker. A phenomenal speaker.
I'm gonna have to check him out because I believe that.
Very passionate speaker. I found him almost 15, 20 years ago, and just I actually got a chance to interview him live on my show. But that was something that always stuck out because we're taught, you know, to put, even men, we're taught to, you know, everything has to be, you know, your wife is before you, everything's before you. And so you kind of, if you do that, the dangerous part is you do start building any angst or guilt about anything you do for yourself. And I've seen that played out in my wife, who is in her mid-40s. If she does something for herself, she has to justify it. Oh, it was only this amount, and this is why I did it. And oh, look, I got it. And I'm like, I don't care how much it is. You know, you should do it. Why are you defending? You know,
because it's standard operating procedure. That's what she's taught to believe. And that's when I say it goes back to your belief system as to what you know. You know, but I had a grandma that was a little bit different. You know, she would say to me, you know, chick, you have to always make sure you take care of you. So if you're taking care of your husband, you're taking care of your kids, do not forget about you. Always keep you in the equation. But you have to remember now, my grandmother died when I was very young. So I remember all the lessons that was taught as we went. But just like your wife, I was like that as well. But when I got sick and came into this whole new world of me, I dare say, I learned that it wasn't selfish, that it was actually selfless. Because in order to be a good wife to you, I have to be a good wife to myself. And that's what I learned.
You got so many great words that stick out. Again, you said something that I heard you say countless times, which is owning your truth. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you to delve down that rabbit hole a little further and talk about what that means at its core. And not only that, not only knowing, but how do you own it? How do you own your truth?
Oh my, it goes to knowing your truth, number one. And in order to get to the truth of any matters, you got to be still. There is such a richness in being still. We are moving at the speed of light that very rarely do we take the time to meditate. Now, you don't have to meditate for an hour, you don't, but you really have to take time to get to know you. Most of us just don't know ourselves, so we can let our source in. So a lot of the times we don't want to deal with our truth, because when you deal with your truth, then, you know, a lot of stuff comes to the forefront that you have put down because why? It's difficult for you to do with it, but it goes right back to your train of thought, your mindset as to this is really my truth. You know, I had to own that, you know what? If I don't do something, I am really going to die. So, and that's a huge truth. But even if you look at the, you know, in America today, we are like what, 68%, 78% obese, you know, and we're letting society dictate how we feel about ourselves just to make it better. I mean, when I was overweight, because I was born there with 215 pounds, you know, I never said I was fat. Society said I was pleasantly plump.
Right.
So, you know, and I ran with that, but knowing I didn't feel good, I can't walk up a flight of stairs, my knees hurt, you know, so that's owning your truth. I can't breathe. I don't feel good. I don't can't walk up a flight of stairs. What the heck are you gonna do about it? That's your truth. You know, even if for something, you know, you drink something that hurts your stomach, but you're still gonna drink it anyway because you keep thinking we got time. I got time to fix this, or this is not gonna happen to me. You know, she was overweight, she got diabetes, she got high cholesterol. No, it's not gonna happen to me until it do.
Mm.
Until it do. And then what are you gonna do about it? So it's like those are the little things. I'm not talking about this big owning my truth. Oh my gosh, woe is me. I don't have it. No, I'm talking about little tiny things that you can do in your life to make your life better. Because if you, most of my clients, I would say, so why aren't you well? You know? So three things: money, time. I don't have time. And I was like, you're right. You ain't going to get any more time if you don't do something about it. Um, and two is money because I don't have the money to be well. You know, being well is free. You know, on the things that we need, we're talking about your basics: eat 3 meals a day, get outside and move, drink more water, and go to sleep. Where you got to pay for that?
Yeah.
Where you got to pay for that at? You know, even to start thinking better. But if you do those things, you'll start thinking better because if you eat more, eat better, sleep better, you know, drink more water, you'll think better. You know, so that's the thing. We go, even for water, you know, we drink this bottled water, all this stuff. You don't have to. Water, you're in your house, anywhere, water's free. You get the same benefit or probably a better benefit than you would ever get from a bottled water. You know, so that is free. So once we get around that, you know, but again, the outside forces come into play, you know, especially for us women, you know, gotta look cute.
Yeah. There we
You know,
go.
I have my hair right, you know, gotta look cute. I can't work out because I'm gonna sweat my hair out, you know. So look, I'm a girl. I go through that stuff. But the thing about it is that what me being well and feeling good every single day is more important than any one of those excuses that I would tell you. So I would say to you, get out of your excuse bag,
Yeah.
you know, and make a decision to feel better. Because when we feel better, most of the time when you see us, it's generally our representative that is showing up. It's not our authentic self. You know, because when we go home, then we start taking all this stuff off.
Right.
There's the real you.
Right.
And you don't like what you see. You know, I ask, you know, women all day long, can you get in front of the mirror butterball naked
Hmm.
and say, do you like what you see? I do it every day. Oh yeah, you one bad chick. Because that's what I feel about me. And until you go to get that feeling, and I call it a striving for happiness. So you strive for whatever your happy is. So what formula are you going to build? Number one. And what vehicle are you going to use to get you there. You know, so it's almost like, can you take your can I, which means complacent and not improving. We just hanging out. We don't feel good. So you have to flip it and turn it, go from can I to I can. You know, and I can is that you got to initiate this thing. You got to start it, right? You got to have an intention and you got to make an investment. It's not necessarily money investment. You just got to make an investment in time to work on yourself. And then you just got to get committed and consistent. You got to take some action, and it's just necessary. I can.
There's the other T, right? Commitment. Uh-oh.
Ha!
You know, speaking of that, and this wasn't even where I was going to go with the next question, but you struck a chord, because I always talk about how it's easier to be committed to others than it is to commit to yourself.
Woo. Yes, yes, yes.
It's the weirdest thing in the world. Like, we don't make promises and feel bad if we break them, most people, to others. But if we tell ourselves we're going to do something and we don't do it, we just kind of like, oh, well.
Clark, let's talk about self-integrity. Self-integrity. Integrity, different, because you just said it. We will go to ranks and make sure that we do for other people no matter what. My word is my bond, you know.
See, that's that Philly coming out of you right there.
You know, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make sure.
In Jersey. I'm sorry, Jersey girl.
Jersey, but it's all in the same area. New York, New Jersey, Philly. You know, we were running hard. Right. You know, so it's like you give your word what you're gonna do to others, and you try to fulfill that. But when it comes to self-integrity, it's a whole nother story, because it goes back to what we believe. And everything that we talk about, it goes back to what you believe. I can get to myself at another time. It's more important than for me to do for you than do for myself, because that's what I've been through. So you have to change your belief system, because I'm with Flynn. It's a matter of you have to really, really believe that if you make yourself first, everything else in your life will be better. And that takes some work. And then you have to ask yourself, are you willing to take on what you may get from it? You may lose some friends, you know, you may lose some family members, you know, you may even lose your job, you know, especially if you're in business, some of your partnerships, collaborations. But you have to make a decision. Are you willing to do that for a better you? And that's the question, because I look at our lives as ships, right? Definition of a ship is something designed to take you somewhere, right? If your partnerships, your business ships, your relationships, and all the ships that we have in our life, our business ships, if they're not taking you anywhere, abandon ship. You know, get out, throw that crap overboard, you know, or you jump overboard and swim to where you need to go. But you have to be okay that when you change anything so huge in your life, that some stuff is going to change. Because I think in order to get to your best self, that you have to make room for it. So you have to ask yourself, what are you willing to give up? Like, what are you willing to give up to make room? And the reason why we fail is because we don't move nothing out of the way. We don't move anything. We want everything to stay the same and still be well, and then do this 380-degree change, but you want over here to be well. It's unbalanced. There's no harmony there. Yeah. So that's what I feel about that. I mean, I don't have some friends anymore. I have some family members that ain't thinking about me, but you know what? I'm all good.
we got a couple more minutes. I want to make sure we have time to talk about some of the things you're currently doing. But I got to ask you this because I think this is important. Most of my listenership falls in the range of mid 30s to about 60. Yeah, right under 60. That's the general sweet point. So going back to your story, you had already had it. I'm just doing Black people math here, and I know you said you had a 20-something year career in as a
Respiratory
therapist, and then you had the big C crisis. You went through that for many years, and you've now been doing wholeness and wellness and being your B&B Well Center for some time as well. So just doing the general Black people math, like I said, you had some wisdom before you made a decision to restart your life and change everything about it. That in and of itself is a testimony because most people, you talked about the big change, don't wish to do that, aren't able to do it, or don't, whatever, it's some blockage. Talk a little bit about how you were able to, at that age, make a decision that is not too late. There's nothing about, like you said, you're going to live 150 years, so there's a lot more to do. Let's get started. But I know tons of people, and that we're not even talking about crisis mode. We're just talking about a simple switch in maybe their mindset. They're like, oh, I'm 46 and 47. It's too late for me. I'm done. And they just have this quitter attitude as if they're dying next week or something. Can you talk about how you overcome that?
Well, because I believe that it's possible. You have to go back to believe. And I had one of my clients that came to me, she's 53 years old. And she honestly said to me, before I found you, I was just ready to say the heck with it. I'm just going to go to work, leave my life. I never was going to change, that things weren't going to get better. Wow. And I said, right. And I have so many women that's in their 50s that come and say that. So I look at them and say, I'm the new 60 and I am a possibility. You have to believe that it's possible, but then you have to want it and then you have to work it. So it's a matter of, I just think that we've become a very lazy society. And I can own that statement. We don't want the work, we want the microwave. And it's not going to come by that. There is work that has to be done. There's no magic pill you can take. There's no magic piece of equipment that's going to change for you. In order to change your organs to work better for you so you can, I tell my clients or anybody that'll listen to me, do you want to look good in your clothes? Do you want to look good out of your clothes? Do you want to feel good? Do you want to think clear? Then you cannot get your body tight until you get your mind right. So unless you change your perception on what you're thinking, so you have to take that, this is not possible, to this is possible, and then go do something about it. You have to ask for help. You have to find people that's willing to help. You have to remember, I had all of my witch doctors. I went out and I asked for help. Show me how to do this thing. That's what my husband calls them. So you got to go find somebody that's doing this and learn how to do it and then learn how to be it. Because the more you do it, it just becomes you. Like this thing about being well, this is me 360, 24/7. I eat, sleep, breathe, being well. And that's what you have to do. It has not consumed my life. It is my life.
I love that. That is a great point to end on. And I could talk to you forever. And wow, this has been fascinating, fun, and I've learned so much. I can't wait myself to listen back to the playback. Tell us what you're working on, and how can people who are interested in hearing more, or having you as their witch doctor, how do they get in touch with you?
And I gladly take that job. I really do. Right now, I am the creator. Of course, I'm Pure Euphoria Bed and Breakfast, but I'm the creator of the Plank Talk Challenge. One of the things that I'm absolutely just amazed about, and it's about, I was trying to come up when we were talking about time. What can I do to give the world the biggest bang for their buck in a little bit less time? And I came up with the Plank Talk Challenge. And that is for you to get down on the floor for 1 minute. So I would say to you, Clark, I would ask you here to take the challenge with it. You check me out. I know you saw my videos. So I would say you got a minute. Do you have a minute? It only takes one to feel amazing. And that means it takes 1 minute to change your mind so you can change your path to being wellness. So that's what the Plank Talk Challenge is about. For more information about the Plank Talk Challenge, you can actually go to Candice Camille YouTube channel or Facebook, Candice Camille, the Wellologist, and be all about that. And I also have the Think Well, Be Well Now conference coming up on April 16th. And that's it. I want people to think well now, and I want you to be well now. And I'm introducing my 8 doctors. I should have called them witch doctors. I love it. But I'm introducing my 8 doctors that I use daily in order to stay in the wellness space. So I'm bringing the doctors there. That's on April 16th, this in a couple of weeks. And for more information about that, you can go to thinkwellbewellnow.eventbrite.com or go to the CandiceCamille.com website for all the information. Hopefully we'll see you there if you got any questions from the doctors about being well.
Excellent. And how can people, any social media shout outs you want to give?
Oh my goodness, social media, you can hit me on Instagram at the Wellologist, Twitter at the Wellologist. I'm across the board at the Wellologist. And again, you would say, well, what is that Wellologist? She will help you look good in your clothes, out of your clothes, feel good, and think clear. Because again, you can't get your body tight until you get your mind right. So you want to look me up, follow the Wellologist, follow the Plank Talk Challenge, and come on and join this wellness explosion, because we are about to create a revolution.
There it is. Candice Camille, the Wellologist. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Clark. This was amazing. But I didn't get a chance to talk about that soda. So does that mean, can I get you one tape to tell me you're going to take this challenge and work on that soda?
I will knock that out for you. Absolutely.
All right, y'all heard it here. I follow Clark. Plank Talk Challenge. He's supposed to talk and plank for 30 days for 1 minute and put his video up so we can see if we're doing it. So I'm going to check him out to see what day is day 1. Join the movement.
We're burning Coke cans over here.
I love it. Thank you.
Absolutely. And by the way, thank you guys for listening in and tuning in, whether this is live for you or the playback. Coming up next is April 12th at 8:30 p.m. We will have Miss Althea Lawton Thompson, who will be coming on to talk about the power of yoga, which is something that I'm just getting started into. So as you see, we're going to keep the movement going. So thank you so very much. And remember, friends, don't be average. It's the best of the worst and the worst of the best. And you certainly don't want to be any one of those things. Thanks so very much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.